Hello, Mark Yonley, founder and artistic director of Chicago Tap Theater, back with another brand new episode of the Tea on Tap. Today I am super excited to welcome DeWitt Fleming Jr., tap dancer originally from DC, based out of New York for many years now. An all-around performer and an innovator in the tap scene. Not only is he a choreographer, performer, he also is an inventor, and we're going to be talking about his microphones for tap shoes. So that's something you're not going to want to miss. Sorry, I'm just making sure. So he should be popping in just 1 minute. Until then, let me say hi to a few people. I want to say hi to our fabulous intern, Emily. She's been doing an amazing job with us. I want to say hi to Ben and Rosie. And I see my mom is here. Hi, Mom. Welcome from Chicago. Hope everything's going well out there in Lawrence, Kansas. Today, I am not drinking out of a mug. I'm drinking out of a cup. What? How can that be? We've had 28 episodes, and now we're going to break form. I'll be explaining why in just a minute. So I see that DeWitt is here. We're just about to go live. I really am so thrilled to share his knowledge of tap dance with all of you. I'm sure it'll be just one moment. I want to say hi to Jordana. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Got to tell you that fall has come early here in Chicago, and I am not complaining one bit. It has been a lovely 70 degrees. And for me, a hot summer. Might be a little disappointed with the next 10 days here in Chicago, at least, but I think it's all right. Hey!
Hey!
Hello! I'm going to buy one of those hats. I saw those on your website. I love it.
Thanks. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Please do me a favor. I always start by asking, could you show us where you are and tell us where you are?
Oh, I am in my living room. I got to take this off first. And yeah, I'm just in my living room. We just moved out to Union City, New Jersey. I've been in the city for about 20 years, and it was time. It was time. So that's where I am right now. I'm in my living room.
Love it. Yeah. And do you have your mug?
Yes, I do. Hold on. I got to get situated to put this thing back on this
right
thing.
Boom. Yes.
There we go. Getting situated. Here's my mug. My wife got this for me on my first Father's Day. That's my my daughter.
Oh, that's precious. Oh, that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Fantastic. And I was telling people, I think we're about 28 or 29 episodes in. This is the first one I do not have a mug, but there's a reason for that. I wanted today to highlight a locally owned black coffee shop called Kyoto Black. And they do not yet have a mug with their label on it. So instead, I bought their product. I talked to the owner, and they're gonna make mugs, or we just might make one for them, because we want to give them a shout out. So they're doing a really great product. They do Kyoto style coffee, so it's an incredibly slow brewing process.
Okay.
And I gotta tell you, not that I'm doing a commercial all of a sudden, but all you Chicagoans. Yeah, all you Chicagoans, especially you Chicagoans on the north side, I want you to go check out Kyoto Black. The owner, I'm sure, is always there. It's a mom and pop operation. His name is Justin. I met him today. Absolutely incredible person. So go support Black business.
Cool.
All right. So DeWitt,
Yes, sir.
I always start with the same question. Why tap dance? How did you discover? What is your first memory of tap dance?
Uh, my first memory, that's a tough one. Uh, I mean, I could tell you what got me started. Um,
Yes, please.
I mean, I was an actor. I was studying acting at Duke Ellington School of the Arts down in D.C., and we had to learn tap dancing for a musical. And
Love it.
so that's when I was first introduced to it. But to be honest, I didn't show it that much interest until I saw Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk.
Mm.
And that was touring in DC, and I saw it with Derek Grant and Dominique Kelly and Sekou, and I can't remember who else was in that one. I think Benson Bingham was in it. So yeah, and it actually came to our school and did a whole like kind of workshop and not workshop, but like a talk back, and they danced.
Wow.
And it was, what really struck me was not only the dance, but also that these guys were my age. And they were on stage on such a huge platform, and they dressed and looked like me. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, this is cool, you know, because before that, you know, you were seeing musicals where you might, you know, it's not necessarily somebody that looks like you,
Yep.
or dressed or as young like you are, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what really, you know. Then I was like, oh, I got to do this. And it was, you know, I was a drummer. Well, I still am a drummer, but I started playing drums when I was 12. I was playing drums in a jazz band at junior high school and a concert band, and so the rhythms were already, you know, there. So, and I was like, wow, these people are doing these rhythms with their feet, and they're doing all this craziness. This is amazing. So that's what really got me into it.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I can only imagine how many people can cite Bring Into Noise, Bring Into Funk as a foundational experience in their tap career. I think such a huge impact. I've always thought that Savion really is a Charlie Parker figure, and that nobody tap dances the same after him as did before him.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
So then, who were your primary teachers? Because you came to it a little bit later than many people. So you had to find a tap teacher right away in DC, yes?
Yeah, so, you know, I was into tap. I mean, when I tell you I was hooked, I mean, every day. I mean, people to this day that I went to high school with, even my teachers, are still, whenever I see them, they talk about DeWitt tap dancing. Mind you, I only started tap dancing about 6 months into my senior, not 6 months, sorry, three or 4 months into my senior year of high school. So this is only the second half of my senior year that I started really tap dancing. However, they knew, because I was always the last one in the studio at school, and they had to kick me out, you know, and I begged one of my theater teachers to let me skip class once a week to go and take tap in the dance department, because I was in acting. So we didn't have, you know, tap classes. And there was a teacher, you know, rest in peace. Her name is Miss Tony Lombre. And Tony Lombre would come to our school every week, and she would teach in the dance department. Once I found out, I said, I got to go take class. And so they let me go take class, and Tony saw that I really liked it, and she noticed that I was improving very quickly. And this is only because, like, literally every day after school, I'm in there until they kick me out. And then I went to the tech theater department and had them help me make a board. So I took a board home. It lived in front of my TV. God bless my mother for letting me do that, letting me dance all the time. And my teacher, Miss Karen Daniels, who was our movement teacher for theater, she's the one that took me to the show. She's the one that, you know, gave me all of this footage to watch. And I was dancing at school. Then when I got home, I put in that footage and was trying to dance to the, you know, whatever footage I saw. And so that's how I learned, honestly. I learned from watching footage and being around other dancers. I mean, Miss Tony Lombre, after about a couple weeks, she said, hey, we need boys, or we need young men in our company. So, you know, I want you to come. And that's, you know, when I start to develop a relationship with like Chloe and Maud, because they were part of the company too. Now I had known Chloe years before because she would come to Duke Ellington for different stuff. But I didn't really get to know her until then. We got to dance together in Miss Tony Lombre's company. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started, you know. And unfortunately, I couldn't afford lessons. I mean, I learned a lot from Miss Tony Lombre. She is really who got me started. And then once I got to New York, you know, I was in college, but I couldn't afford classes. So I was just going to Swing 46, you know, going to different tap jams everywhere, trying to meet people, getting put on my butt, you know, because you come to New York, man, it's like, it's a completely different world. It's like, well, you know, you come there and you know, you think you know a little something, and then you go to Swing 46 and you see all these people from all around the world dancing, and then you see all the masters and you're like, oh man, I don't know nothing. So you know, it kicked my butt, but it made me work even harder. And I learned so much. Yeah, it was great.
You know, I've interviewed quite a few people, and it is interesting to me how many of them come from the DC area.
Yeah.
Cartier, Bakari, Roxy, Chloe.
Yeah.
What do you think is it that there's so much
Bakari's
tap
on there
dance?
now. What's up, Bakari? I see you.
What is it about DC that so many great tap dancers come out of there?
You know, growing up in DC, it's not so much. I mean, it is still there, but it's not as prevalent as it was when I was growing up, and when Bakari and Chloe and, you know, all of us were growing up there. It was predominantly a black city, and with that, you had full range of black people. So you had the poorest of the poorest and the richest of the richest, and so with that, you were able to learn, be more proud of your culture, and the people that really instilled in us to do our research and learn and look up, be proud of who we are and where we come from. And so with that, and it was a community, so everybody was always teaching each other that, because it's all, you know, African American people, so they don't even have to be somebody that you know. You get on a bus, somebody see you doing something wrong, they're gonna pull you to the side and say something. Or if they see something, you know, you being down on yourself, or see, like, you know, you're not loving yourself like you should, they might come and say, hey, you're a strong black man, I need you to know that, look up this person, look at this. And so things like that were happening when you're growing up in DC. And so when it came to tap, you know, you have that idea of, whatever I do, I need to know what it is, I need to research it, I need to be proud of it. And so that's something that I think a lot of tap dancers from DC had instilled in them already. So to come to an art form, it's already something that's in our mind, that we have to study it, we have to represent it ourselves and it to the best of our ability, and be proud of it. So I think just having that background, it makes anything you do, you have to be the best at it. You have to be the best. You have to be, you know, yourself. You have to be true and honest, and you got to represent the people that came before you. So that's kind of something that is instilled in us, no matter what it is we do. Yeah.
Man, that's beautiful. I really I find that incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, you know, I didn't appreciate DC as much as I should have until I moved away. You know, growing up there,
That's common.
Yeah, you take it for granted. And then when you move away to other places and you see that there's not that same sense of community, that same sense of pride, that same sense of history, and knowing your history and respecting those that came before you, then you kind of say, oh, wow, DC was a special place. It really was. So, you know, I credit it to that, to be honest.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a technical question.
Okay.
You know, the word this is a question I ask of everybody because I'm kind of fascinated by this.
Yeah,
you know, the word technique is this. Hey, Jason Samuel Smith.
Oh, what up, Jay? Come on, Jay.
The word technique is one of those words that's a big word, right? Like, and it can mean a lot of things to different people.
Right,
What does
right.
technique mean to you within the context of tap dance?
Oh, man, you know, I wouldn't be anything without technique. You know, I didn't really start to grow and find myself as a dancer until I really leaned on technique. So I started the old-fashioned way, get my butt kicked by people that were better than me, being around other dancers, being in shows, um, and just learning from being around people. And that was great in the sense that it gave me drive, and it really, you know, made me respect the dance even more. But what I realized is that I wasn't taking time to work on my technique because I didn't have time to really, I didn't have an opportunity to really train with someone. I was always on the move. I was in school, I was still studying acting, I was doing all this other stuff. And so I was just picking stuff up along the way. And so what I got a few years into it, I just realized that I was plateauing, that I was just like, I hit a wall, and I was just like, I got all this stuff I want to do, and I feel like I can't physically do it, and I don't know how to express what I want to express. So I kind of went back to the drawing board, and it took some years of me just trying to figure out what was wrong and how to fix it. And, you know, basically it came down to my technique was just not there. And so for years I sat there and worked on the technique that I stole from other people when I would take their classes. I was like, okay, cool. I see that. I would try stuff. Some stuff worked, some stuff didn't. And then I was able to develop a technique that I think helps me become stronger and be versatile, where I can move in and out of different styles and do whatever I need to do and never feel like I'm stuck. That I can go back to my technique and then, you know, grow and do whatever I need to do, you know, move forward.
Very cool. You know, reading about you and kind of having known about your career for quite a while now, I'm struck by your versatility. And it's interesting to me because I'll admit, I am an old school Sammy Davis Jr. fan. I was lucky enough, I saw him live in 91. I think I saw him about within a year before he died in Vegas on a double bill with Jerry Lewis.
Wow.
Couldn't tell you a thing about Jerry Lewis. I saw him, but Sammy Davis Jr., I could tell you, you know, and I'll share this with you really quick. One of the things I remember the most is before he sang Mr. Bojangles, he made a point to educate the audience and say, just because this song is called Mr. Bojangles does not mean it is about Bill Robinson. He said, you know, this song does not reflect his life in any way, shape, or form. It's more an amalgamation of a general experience that many tap dancers had in that time period. And I remember being struck by that. But so that tradition of the all-around entertainer, somebody who can sing, act, dance, play instruments, that isn't something that I feel like we see very often anymore.
Right.
And I love that that is something that you exemplify. How do you, I guess I have a lot of questions about this. First off, how do you balance all those different skills and abilities and talents? And then how do you find that one, it must have been, thank you, Jason, it must have been 89. And it's funny, I was in Vegas for a dance thing, and it was on the marquee across the street. It's at a different hotel, but it was Sammy and Jerry. So I went across the street and said, at that time I was a teen journalist, and I said, I'm a journalist, can I get press passes to see the show?
Nice.
So I got to sit front row, right in front. I cried 4 times maybe. Anyway, so how do you find, I'm interested in this. How do you find your tap dancing informing your other abilities? And how do you find your other abilities informing your tap dance?
You know, it's all connected. You can't have, you know, music and jazz the way you do now without tap dancing. I mean, and of course it wasn't called tap dancing then, but you know, those rhythms and all those rhythms and those traditions and patterns and triplets and everything that we have in jazz and in popular music now was kept alive by tap dancing. Now, of course, this wasn't called tap dancing then, but this is that we were able to preserve this part of the culture and history through tap dancing. So it's just like it's all connected. So you can't have one without the other. So that, as far as music, I mean, that's just, you know, music is music all around the board. So that one's an easy one. As far as acting, acting has helped me so much with my dancing, singing, and all that stuff because it makes you it holds you responsible for what you're doing. So when you're acting, you really have a responsibility to the character, to the history of whatever's going on, to the atmosphere, and to be honest and truthful with what you're bringing forward. And so that helps my tap dancing because whenever I go out there, I want to make sure whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm performing to, that it's honest, it's truthful, it has meaning. And so that the acting, of course, helps that. And then it's the acting because it's rhythm. Acting is rhythm, you know, and you have to find that rhythm and that balance of what you're doing and those nuances in the way you speak and the pattern of the way you speak and how you do it. So, I mean, they're all intertwined once you start digging deep into, you know, how to do everything. Drums, I mean, simple. That's an easy connection.
Well, and there's such a tradition of great jazz drummers who also could tap dance.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you talk to a lot of drummers and they were inspired by tap dancing. I mean, you know, you hear Dizzy Gillespie and talking about how tap dancing really inspired the bebop era, you know, and you hear Thelonious Monk saying that a lot of things that he was trying to do, he was trying to mimic the tap dancers, you know. So it definitely, you know, tap is there, tap's in there.
You know, it's interesting. As much as we're talking right now about re-examining how tap history is understood and taught, I feel like a piece of that puzzle has to be reintegrating tap dance into the history of jazz music.
Absolutely.
Because I studied a lot of jazz history in college.
Yeah.
And I almost became a jazz studies major, and it drove me crazy. Not a single jazz history textbook mentions tap dance.
Oh, wow.
Not a one that I read 7 or 8, like textbook history, you know, serious, scholarly, not a thing. But then you read any memoir of a jazz musician from that period, and they always mention tap dancers.
Yeah.
So it makes me crazy. So sorry about going off on that tangent, but
No,
I'm going to tell you,
go on.
for you caffeine people, I'm just going to give another plug. For you caffeine people, this stuff is strong. I am hopped
You're
up.
buzzing.
I am, man. This coffee is amazing. So tell me about working with Cirque du Soleil on Banana Spiel, because I actually saw that here in Chicago when it previewed.
Yeah.
Tell us about working with that huge organization on such an odd show for them.
Man, you know, Banana Spiel was the best and worst experience I think I've ever been through in my life. You know, we had a lot of fun. I created a lot of great relationships with people that I still speak to this day because of that show, and it's because of all the craziness we went through. I try to do a brief timeline. So most of us in that show were union performers. However, Cirque at the time had never dealt with the union ever because it's a circus. I mean, they don't deal with unions, you know, it's completely different. However, this was their first attempt to try to enter the theater world. And so they came to New York and they wanted, you know, theater people. And so how it all started is they saw a show, they saw Broadway Underground, which is a show that Jared and I used to put on in New York. And it was David Shiner and what is his name? Bill Irwin. They came to the show and they just loved the show. And David Shiner was like, I would love to do something like this at Cirque, because he was in a clown coach. And so that's kind of how it started. They loved Jared's choreography in the show. So, of course, they wanted him to be on the choreography team. Mind you, when we first started, there were 3 different choreographers. We went up to Montreal. First of all, they auditioned us in Montreal. So they had a first round of auditions in New York. And then they had a second round where everybody they kept, they flew up to Montreal and they had us in their facilities, and we had a second audition up there. This is how much money they had, first of all. I mean, back then they had a lot of money. And so they flew us up to Montreal. We stayed there for like 2 days. It was crazy. We stayed there for 2 days for the audition. And then, of course, they flew us back home. Long story short, we got the job, went up to Montreal. Now, it was some back and forth for months with our agents and CERT, because they're used to people from, you know, different countries that are just excited about an opportunity and the fact that being in the show is going to bring so much wealth to them. So I say that to say they weren't paying these people for rehearsals or creation process. So as soon as they would create a show, it could take them a year to 2 years to create a show. These people are up in Montreal. They feed them and they give them housing, but they don't get any money.
Wow.
And that's
It's
it.
almost like the old company store model.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow.
So that's what they were trying to do to us. They were like, well, we're going to come, but they wanted to fast track the show. So they said, we want you guys to come up for 3 months, maybe 4 months, create the show, and then we'll start off in Chicago. However, they didn't want to pay us for the 3-4 months. They said, oh, we're going to put you up, feed us. And then our agents were like, no, you don't know. That's not how this works. Mm-hmm. And so because this was a theater show, they had to adjust. We figured out a salary. It wasn't, trust me, it wasn't the salary that it was supposed to be, but we came to some kind of agreement. And we were up there. And because there's no unions, we should have thought about this with the contract, but we were just, so excited, and, and everybody figured that it was just going to be normal. We were in rehearsals from 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. It was crazy. It went on like this for 3 months. When I tell you, it brings out the best and the worst in you. Like, after that experience, I know I can do anything. I mean, within those 10 and 12-hour days, we were learning dance numbers. We were singing. We were learning different acting scenes. We could learn 3 or 4 dance numbers in a day, literally. Wow. Perform it that night for the producers. Come back the next day, and the whole thing scrapped. That happened at least 10 different times. So I would say in that 3-month period, we had to have learned at least 30 or 40 different versions of dance numbers. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. We went through about 40 different cast and crew members, like from either them quitting or CERT firing them. It went from three choreographers down to one, just Jared. Our 2 leads in the show were fired. Our lighting, sound was fired. Music people were fired. It was crazy. It was nuts. And it was all just because they couldn't really figure out what they wanted to do. They had an idea, but they didn't know how to really put it all together. So it was crazy. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Wow. And so then you come to Chicago.
Yeah.
And you preview the show. I'm guessing you probably made adjustments once it opened in Chicago.
Yeah. Same thing. We were learning numbers in the morning and performing them at night. I mean, it was the same thing. That show was constantly evolving and changing. It was crazy. But it was great because it really made you, as a performer, I know I can handle anything. Like, I don't care what it is, I can handle it and I can make it happen. But we got to Chicago, it just kind of fell short.
Yep.
And it happens. It is what it is. They tried. We did our best. We held up our end of the bargain, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I would say that you captured it perfectly. I think the dancing for sure was the highlight of the show. Yeah. It really, because the choreography was amazing, the talent assembled for that show, stellar. I think it was kind of putting the plot into it that they seemed to struggle with.
Yeah. Jay Sam, that circus life ain't no joke. You right. It's not.
So there's a couple things I want to talk about. We just did last Sunday that went out, of course, over the internet all over the world. And generally, I was quite happy with it. You know, there were a lot of technical issues, of course, or concerns.
Right.
I was worried about, you know, what if the internet fails, because then nobody can see any of it.
Right, right.
Everything went smoothly, but I'll be very candid with you. Watching the video afterwards, the one element that I wish had been a little bit stronger was the recording of the taps.
Yeah.
And the reason is, for me, you know, any tap dancer watching this knows, we spend honing our sound, right? Our tonality,
Absolutely.
working on dynamics, working on tone, working on timbre, like all that. And then you know, watching the show, you could hear all the sounds, which of course is the single most important thing.
Right.
But I felt like a lot of that musicianship that we worked so hard to.
Yeah. Of course. Yes, I do.
Yeah, talk about this, because I am fascinated and intrigued and in love that you do this.
Yeah, it's it's the Do It Right Tap Mics. That's the name of the company and the mics. And you know, basically, long story short, I was tired of, like you saying, now we're dealing with it in the virtual world, where before we were dealing with it in the real world. Now, you know, when it's never a problem when the production company has the money and the budget and they're going all out, you know, and it's a tap show. Usually it's great. You know, they're able to put 100 mics on the floor. Everybody's cool. It's great. Fine. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, that only happens once or twice a year. The rest of the year, you're dealing with all the elements, and especially when you're traveling to other places. And so that's what I'm always dancing with jazz bands and being a feature in different shows. And I was just tired of getting there. And like you said, you know, just not being satisfied with your performance, with how it sounds. And so I was able to work with a sound engineer to come up with these mics where it's, you know, it's 2 omnidirectional full range, which is the key, full range. You want that full range sound. Omnidirectional microphones, lavalier microphones that you attach to both of your feet, the bottom of your or the side of your tap shoe, and you don't have to worry about, you know, staying in one spot or being too close to the mic or being hot or something like that. And you know, you can hear, like you said, all those different tonalities. And the thing that people love the most is the scrapes. They can mess around with scrapes, because usually people don't do scrapes, you can't hear them. You know, you do all this cool scraping and nobody can hear. And so that's something that a lot of people like about them, that you can do scrapes. And like you said, Trey, I was talking to Trey Dumas, and he was saying, man, like, I don't have to pound anymore, or like I can have nuances and it's gonna save my legs. Like, I'm not pounding all the time. And so I think it's just something that I was fed up with, and I found a solution, and people were asking me about it, talking to me about it, and I said, well, let me just get these things manufactured and make it happen and make it affordable. That was the hard part, because I mean, you go to these sound companies and try to get these built, and you're paying at least $700 to $800. And you know, we can't afford that. You know what I mean? You know, so that was a big thing, to try to get that price down and kind of skip out the middleman and try to figure that out. So thankfully, we were able to do that. And yeah, that's it. And then I tell people too, you know, it makes your life easier when you walk into a situation where you have a disgruntled sound person, or you have, you know, a sound person who's overworked. Like, they're doing so much, the last thing they want to do is try to deal with a tap dancer. And it sucks that that's their mindset, but that's how they feel. I've been, and we had all these issues. Now you're gonna bring a tap dancer, and his tap's gonna be bleeding into their mics, and this is gonna happen, and blah blah blah, and all this other stuff, and they just don't want to deal with it. So, you know, I found that once I had the mics, all I do was go to the sound person and say, hey, do you have an open channel on your board? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I have my own mics. Here's the receiver. And they say, oh, great. All they got to do is plug in, do a couple tweaking, and then they don't got to deal with me. And it's done. And they're like, these things are great. you need to tell your friends to have these. I'm like, I'm trying. That's literally what they say to me. That's literally
I
what
believe it. I believe it. Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
would be a.
that's
For me, I imagine one of the nice things, there's I tap at the Green Mill Jazz Club sometimes here in
oh
Chicago.
yeah, I love the Green Mill.
And that floor is wood on concrete. So
Oh,
you can pound it all you want, but it's not going to give you any more sound.
right.
And so having something that could amplify in a space like that
Yeah,
would be a lifesaver. So,
yeah. I mean, these are the mics. I'll show them to you so you see what they look like.
oh, nice.
And they come in two different. I mean, you come in your little pouch, of course, your carrying pouch, and then they come in two different versions. You have your This is what the mics look like. Hold up, let me get a better version. And yeah, I mean, it's just easier. And you go to my website and you can really see the detailing on what they are and what they can do. But that's it. These are the microphones. You put these on the bottom. This is the connector. So it's got one connector. So yeah, I mean, I remember I was going to Apollo. Actually, Jason, shout out to Jason. He got some mics and he used them at the Apollo. And we were up there, and the Apollo, they ended up buying some. I think it was a week or so before Jason was there. But they were like they hadn't got them out yet, or something had happened. So Jason luckily had some and he was able to use them. But the guys at the Apollo were like, man, where have you been for the last how many years? Because they had been using two transmitter packs. So whenever they had tap dancers, the tap dancers would have like 2 or 3 packs on them. And so, yeah, so the Apollo got the mics and they were happy about it. So, a lot of theaters and people are excited about it too, because it helps them. And then also it's durable. A lot of mics they're using and they'll step on them and break easily.
Yeah. So first off, how long does it take to get, if someone goes online and orders a pair, how long does it take generally to get them?
Well, if you order it on Monday, you'll get it before the week's over. I mean, it'll be there in like 3 days, depending on where you are. If you're overseas, of course, I can't control that. So, but if you're in the States, then, you get it within a week.
Nice. And then tell everybody the website to go to buy a pair.
www.dowitwrighttapmics.com. So that's DEWIT, right, RIGHT, tapmics.com. And we got the Be Heard hats too. We just got our Be Human shirts in. So, cool. We're trying to make the world a better place.
Yes, I love it. And you are. So this is a question, of course, that I've been asking more and more frequently in the past 2 months. Okay. And it's something that I think is super important. Given the movement for racial justice in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, what role do you think tap dancers can play in continuing in making sure that we're using our art and our unique talents and abilities to help push this movement forward? And then to follow up on that, what responsibilities do you think white tap dancers specifically have within this Black art form?
Yeah. I think we have to be, as far as performers in general, I think we just have to be more responsible with what we do. And what does that mean? I mean, a lot of people can appreciate art and we don't give them context, so I think, it's nice sometimes to just go out there and dance to music and just, have a good time, which is great. But, every once in a while, I think the audience deserves some context to what you're doing. And I think that'll help. That's what really theater and performance is about bringing together community, bringing together ideas, thoughts, and issues, and talking about things that people normally can't talk about in a normal circumstance, because you have people from all types of life coming together that normally wouldn't be together. And so I think if you take that in mind, then whatever you do, whatever you're performing, I think you should use that opportunity to enlighten someone, to give some information, to help spread peace and love, and all that stuff. I think it's important. So I think as a performer in general, tap, whatever it is you do, I think you have that responsibility, and you have an opportunity that I think is rare, to be able to reach out to so many different types of people at one moment, and to not only share the beautiful art that you have, but give them context to that art, and give them context to the world, and the context to, look, we got all these people together in the same room together. We can do it. We can come together on something and agree. We all agree we like tap dancing. That's a starting point,
Yeah.
And as far as the white and the black dancers, it's unfortunate how that goes down such a bad road sometimes, and I think it's just at the root of things, we have to acknowledge, of course, where something comes from, where something in the history of it, and acknowledge those who don't normally get acknowledged, and who light is not shed on. But I think once that happens, I think there is a moment of unity, because things are created to be shared. Things are created for people to come together and enjoy, and again, to spread that love and that unity. And I think what happens a lot of the times is that people take that for granted, and people decide to they feel like they have some kind of an ownership, or that it's for them. And I think that's where we run into the problem. Art is for everyone. No one owns art. No one owns tap dancing. There is a history to it, which I think people should know and acknowledge, but no one owns it. There's no art that you can say that you personally own. And I think as tap dancers, we should have learned that with Jelly's last jam. That's the perfect example. Looking at how Jelly was and how he treated jazz. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I only say that to say that he thought he was the beginning and the end of jazz. And that's just, no one is the beginning and the end of anything. That's just not how it works. So I think together we should just, again, have the conversation. If you don't know about history, or if your history is limited and someone else might have more information, have a conversation. It doesn't have to be anything personal. Like if someone says something about tap dancing that I don't agree with, let's talk about it. I don't want to take it personally and like, oh, I don't like you because you said this, and like, let's have a conversation, and let's hopefully come to an agreement on it. And then that way we can dance together, because that's what that's what it's about. So that's how I feel.
DeWitt, that was beautifully put. I want to thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, a lighter topic. Recently, you made history by being the first tap dancer to record a jazz album at Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
And have tap dance be part of the soundtrack, as it should be. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been working over at Lincoln Center for almost 20 years now. It's about 15, 16 years. And, it's a friend of mine, Erica Von Kleist. That's who I did the album with. We ended up working together out in Montana, and we realized that we had worked together years ago before in New York. And we both had that Lincoln Center connection, where both of us had worked with Winton for many years and had learned under him. And so we had just said, let's go to the studio and see what happens. And we started jamming together in the studio, and we were like, wow, like we had a connection. And it was very natural, and it was very organic. And I was like, see, this is how it should be, because a lot of times when you go on gigs, they're like, okay, cool, we're going to do this song. You're going to come out on this song. We're going to play the head, and then, we're going to do a chorus, and then we're going to open up the chorus, and you're going to go. And then we come and be like, no, hold on. Wait, why can't we all do it together? Let's just work together. I come out, I can hold time. I can, do some stuff to color to, help the song. And with her, I didn't have to say that. It was already kind of like something that kind of, you know, she already expected. And so we said, let's do an album. Let's do it at Lincoln Center. We know everybody there. We have a history there. And they were open to it. And going into it, we didn't realize that no one had ever done an album there with tap on it before. So we would just, you know, it just made sense to us to do it there because we had so many ties there. And so the album came out and we were talking to people over there. They were like, yeah, I don't think anybody's ever done an album here with tap dance on it. I was like, no way. So it's kind of cool to bring tap to the history of jazz and Lincoln.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
where can people find that album?
Oh, you can find it anywhere. You can find it on Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Bandcamp. All you got to do is put in my name, DeWitt Fleming Jr., and it'll pop up. It's called Sax and Taps Intersplosions live at Dizzy's Club. And yeah, check it out. I mean, we're proud. We're super proud of it. Everybody that's listened to it has really loved it. And we wrote all the music ourselves. It's all original music. And I love the fact that it's a lot of times you either have a tap album or you have a jazz album that features a tap dancer. So we were just like, why can't we just have a jazz album, like a music album, and tap is a part of the music. So it's just not like, you know, people are just saying, oh, well, the music kind of comes second to the tap, or the tap is just a feature on this song. It's just like, no, let's just kind of bring together two, because that's how it used to be. You know, people down in Congo Square, you know, everybody just jamming together. You know, we create music. The tap is the music. So we think we were able to accomplish that, and people are really loving it. You know, we're getting some great responses. So, you know, the next step is try to get tap at the Grammys. That's the next step.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, just for the people that really think about these things, what format could someone access the album on that would most directly benefit the artist? Is there a format that pays you better than others? Because I think that's what we would want to do.
Yes, Bandcamp. Bandcamp.com, and then you put in DeWitt Fleming Jr., and it should pop up. Sax and Taps Intersplosions live at Dizzy's Club. You know, that's a good point, because, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, they really don't give you nothing.
Yeah.
But, we just want the music to get out there. We want people to be excited about it, and you know, we want to kind of make a difference. So,
love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it is time for people's favorite moment. 2-minute tap class. You have 2 minutes to teach any step, idea, or concept. I will be timing you. I'm not really going to be timing you. You can take as long as you need. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
All right. I think the biggest thing I tell my students is technique, strength, and conditioning is your biggest ally, and it is one of the only things that is going to make you grow as a dancer. What do I mean? A lot of times we focus on choreography, steps, and all this other stuff, which is great after you've developed strong technique. But I tell people, whenever I do a show, I warm up the same way, and it's simple. I do simple shuffles, toe heels. I make things that help me strengthen and make sure I'm on the balls of my feet, and that my heels I'm not sitting in my heels. So I think technique, strength, and conditioning is what's going to make you a better dancer. And then the second thing I would say is be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. It's great to admire people and want to dance like them. But I think you have to, at some point, branch off to bring yourself to the table. Because a lot of times, you know, young dancers, they're great. I'm seeing them doing all this great stuff. And I'm like, man, I would love to see what you would do. You know, I would love to see you shine. Because right now I'm seeing your mentor shine, or someone that you admire shine, which is great. But I would love to see you shine as well. And I think that really bringing yourself to the table. So strength, conditioning, technique, and strengthening, making sure our body's able to do what we want to do. And that's through technique and repetition. And then just being yourself. I think that's what I would say.
I love it. Beautiful. That is a lovely lesson. All right. Are you ready for rapid riffs?
Rapid riffs. Let's go.
So I'm gonna tell you the same thing I tell every guest, including I have to give Anthony credit. You know, I just had Anthony on, and I'm gonna.
Anthony
It's funny.
Lafonso.
He even. That's right.
Yeah,
Who I
ain't
have to
that
say,
right?
love that guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and love Stacy. He was the most prepared guest I've ever had for Rapid Riffs. He
Oh
was
yeah.
on it.
I'll
So
tell you, I read your email, but I'm not prepared.
you will not be the first.
Okay, okay.
All right, here we go. Number one, what tap shoes do you wear?
Yeah. Capezio K360s.
Two, taps, tight or just a little bit loose?
Tight. Come on, you gotta keep them things tight.
Three, favorite song to tap dance to?
Oh,
You got one song.
one song? Oh man. I'd probably say how can I remember the daggone song? Really? DeWitt? That's how you gonna do? Oh, Imperfect Fit. Imperfect Fit. It's probably my favorite, and that's on my album. That's probably it's called Imperfect Fit. We're actually up for a competition. We're in the finalists for a competition on that song. It's called Imperfect
I want to
Fit.
circle back to that at the end. So, because if people can vote on that, we want to make sure to tell them how.
Yeah.
All right. Four, favorite composer.
Favorite composer? Probably Ahmad Jamal. Man. His
Nice.
stuff, man, it's something, yeah.
Five, you're in 4/4 time. Do you count in fours or eights?
Four.
Six, favorite tap dancer to watch who is no longer with us?
Oh, that's a tough one. Ah! Oh, that's hard. I'm gonna say Gregory Hines, but Bunny Briggs is right. It's right close. Okay.
Seven, this is the one that usually gets most people angry.
Okay.
Favorite living tap dancer to watch?
Oh, living. Oh, I gotta say Jared, man. Jared,
Nice. Oh,
yeah, come, that's my brother, man. But it's just,
great choice.
He's got a nice voice, and the versatility and what he brings to it, man. That's my brother. Yeah.
Love it. Seven, no, eight, favorite choreographed tap piece you've ever seen or done?
That's How You Jazz. Jelly's Last Jam.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nine, what single tap performance that you've seen in person do you remember the most vividly?
That I saw in person.
Mm-hmm.
That I remember the most. Tap performance. I mean, it's probably Bringing Noise, Bringing Funk.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
10, my favorite question. You can go back in time and see any one tap performer or performance. What or who do you go back in time to see?
Same thing, Jelly's Last Jam. If I can go back and see that, Gregory Hines in that, yeah. I missed that.
11.
See that.
You know, I was lucky. I saw Jelly's Last Jam on tour in St. Louis, so Savion was in it, but Maurice was covering the lead role.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. It was great.
Yeah.
11. What tap dance would you most like to see added to the tap canon?
What's tap canon?
So, like Shim Sham, BS Chorus, Laura, Opus 1, like those dances that have become kind of, part of the vocabulary of every tap dancer.
Right.
What dance do you think should be added to that?
Oh, man.
I know, that's a hard one.
Something from Bill Bojangles. Because his stuff, man, somebody should, yes, that should be in there. Because people overlook it because it looked easy, but then every time I try to teach his stuff in the class, people are struggling. And I'm like, wait, I thought it was easy. Well, come on, let's go. So,
people aren't used to being on their toes that much. His work's kind of exhausting.
That's what I'm trying to tell people. You want to grow and be a better dancer, get off them heels. I'm telling you, it's easy to sit those heels, but when you get those heels up off the ground, it's a whole other ball game. But if you find the strength to do that, though, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final question. Second step of the shim sham. What count do you start on?
Oh, shoot. I think I think I do. I think I'm on the eighth note. I think I'm on the and a one. I think.
Very good. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
So before I go into my spiel that I have to do at the end of every episode, let's circle back really quick. Tell us about that song and how people can vote for it to help win, or can they vote on it?
Oh yes, go. If you go to my Facebook, Instagram, DeWitt Fleming Jr., I have a post on there that says "unsigned only," and you can go and vote for our song. It's called it's DeWitt Fleming Jr., Erica Von Kleist. It's called "Imperfect Fit," and I have a link. So if you go to my bio, I have a link in there, and there's a list of links, and you'll see "Vote for DeWitt Song" on there. You just click. Oh, matter of fact, the link might actually be already in my bio, maybe.
So DeWitt, if you don't mind, when we post this on Instagram, please feel free to drop that link in the comments so that everyone that watches this can go vote.
Yes, absolutely, will do. Yes, please vote.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before I ask you the final question, I want to thank Leah Koch, our marketing director and tech guru. I want to thank the staff at Chicago Tap Theater, Molly, Allie, Sarah, our fabulous interns, Allie and Emily. I want to thank my beautiful wife / business manager, Jennifer Yonley.
Yeah.
A reminder to everybody out there, we have classes every Wednesday if you want to take class with Chicago Tap Theater.
Come on.
A reminder, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, Heather Cornell is doing another one of her amazing conversations with Heather Cornell, the Masters Manhattan Tap and Making Music Dance. Next week, she will have Max Pollock on. So I highly recommend that.
Max. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Max. I will direct everybody out there to manhattantap.org / Heather Cornell Tap Dance if you want more information about that. Finally, the final shuffle. DeWitt.
Yes.
When you shuffle off this mortal coil,
Yeah.
how would you most like to be remembered as a tap artist?
Man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I would want to be remembered as hopefully someone that inspired people to be a better person. I think at the end of the day, no matter what you do, who you are, your humanity is what's going to really prevail over any and everything. And most people that are wildly successful, their humanity's in check. And if they're not, they're just so daggone evil. Because I'm telling you, it's both sides of the spectrum. Like, if you put enough energy towards one or the other, you're going to be successful. I mean, I can go into that, but I won't. But it's always better to be on the good side of humanity, because you want to inspire people and you want to spread love. So, hopefully that's what, I'll be remembered for. The tap dancer that spread love and humanity.
Yeah. DeWitt, I have no doubt that is how you'll be remembered. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us, and I will see you on Thursday.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, such a sincere pleasure. DeWitt, I can't wait. Next time I'm in New York, we will definitely get to meet up in person.
Yes, please do.
Awesome. Take care. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, everyone.